And it's more of a control deck. It even plays 3 Mutilates in the list.
Yeah, so what the deck does basically, it has the Disciple of Wolf Engine, as you said, sacrificing Desecration Demon, potentially sacrificing Thraxos. This is a very, deck that's very heavy on board control.
Right.
It has a ton of removal spells. It has Mutilates. It has Liliana the Veils, and then it has like huge creatures you got to win the game with. This is a very traditional rock deck. Is what this is. And on Zamora's side, he is playing a very traditional red-green aggro deck.
And we're talking like not the kind that you play. We're talking the frog in a blender style.
Oh yeah.
Like Saito red-green.
Yeah, we're looking at Stromkirk Noble, we're looking at Rakdos Cackler, Hellrider, Gorkline Rampager, Flinthoof Boar, Boros Reckoner, and of course Burning Tree Emissary.
And 4 Volcanic Strength.
So the goal here is to get the opponent dead fast, and hopefully the opponent has Stomping Grounds in their deck, which Tannon doesn't have. So it's going to be a pretty classic case of Zamora is your aggressive deck. He's trying to kill Tannon as quickly as possible, and Tannon's goal here is to basically stay alive and stabilize, and basically don't die from the first rush. Because if he can stop the initial rush with removal spells and Mutilates and then a Thraktos, then he's probably going to win.
Yeah. So what I would say is, you said that this is the black green is a rock style board control deck. Well, all right. Let's see how good it is at controlling the board. This should be the matchup it wants.
Yeah. This is pretty much the highlight, right? Like if your deck does what it's supposed to do, then it should beat this deck. It should beat the Gruul aggro deck.
One deck's playing all creatures, and the other deck's playing all removal spells and card draw.
Yeah.
So Tannon, granted, is on a mulligan, and looks like he might be on the draw on top of that. So.
Ooh, no turn 1 play from Zamora. That probably means we're going to see some Burning Tree in the series.
He kept the hand based off something.
That's typically what I've found. When I play against regular aggro, my opponent doesn't have a Cackler or like a Stromkirk Noble or something on turn 1. It's normally a Burning Tree Emissary draw, but it's not even that. It's just a Flinthoof Boar for Zamora. As Tannon is going to play a Swamp, he's going to cast Sign in Blood, take 2, draw 2. So he's basically undone this mulligan.
Yep.
But at the cost of 2 life against the red aggro deck, it's a little bit scary.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be pretty happy with the fact that Nathan starts not very fast.
Yeah. So we see a slight pause in play here. We'll figure out what that's for just a moment here. As you can see Zamora's hand, he has multiple Searing Spears, he has a Volcanic Strength, and it looks like 2 lands as well. But those might be Gorkline Rampages. So we'll see exactly what's going to happen here. But Zamora's start is certainly not that great, as we do have a quick judge call here. So we'll figure out what's going on as both players are conversing back and forth, all because of Sign in Blood. That's the reason. It'll be interesting to see how, again, this matchup seems like it would be favored for Grace. A mulligan certainly doesn't help, and, Sign in Blood targeting himself is going to put him down to 18. He's going to be on the back foot. I think, the one thing he can do right now, Matthias, is he can identify like what he's against now, right? Like it's definitely an aggressive red deck.
There's only one Flinthoof Boar deck. That's the red-green aggro deck. Well, I guess to be fair, the style that you play is also one. In fact, if I were looking at this board right now, I would assume that he's playing the mid-range, like the kind of mid-range Jundi red-green deck, just because I would have expected a better keep from my opponent. There's only one creature in play by turn 2. Okay, I would actually think he's probably playing a more mid-range deck.
Sure.
There's a judge call of some sort. We got a message saying it happens. Some sort of judge call has happened here.
It makes our life worse. Don't tell us it happens. Come on, guys.
All right.
See, now we have to come back to the booth. Now you have to see Matthias' hat and my face, even though I did get a haircut.
Very clean.
So maybe we should come back to maybe we should just stay in the booth forever.
We'll all look at
It's been Matthias' hat and my fantastic beard.
There's a lot of style going on here.
Yeah, so we'll find out. Maybe we're not coming back. I don't know. Now both players are sideboarding. Yeah, so we're obviously something happened.
Someone lost a game.
Yeah, something happened, and we're going to find out what in just a moment. That's what's happening next. So as we do get an update here, we're going to take a look at the sideboards. As there was some sort of egregious error. I'll take a look at the Zamora side really quick here. 4 Domri Rods, 3 Legion Loyalists, 2 Mizium Mortars, 4 Skull Cracks, and 2 Traitor's Bloods. Now, Zamora has no idea what Tannon is playing.
Well, okay, so he saw a woodland cemetery, and he saw Sign in Blood. If he's really up on his deck lists, he may know what's going on here. But
okay.
I would say, he's got to be one of those people who week in, week out checking moto, checking results. Otherwise, he he doesn't really know what he's against. You'd assume black control, like, because what else plays Sign in Blood?
Yeah.
You might think black-green zombies.
Okay, so what happened here very quickly is Tannon drew sideboard cards.
Okay,
Called
he
a judge
wasn't
on himself,
sideboarded.
and he didn't de-sideboard. So, easy enough. Honest Mage, drew a sideboard card. This is awkward. I can't do that. Tell the judge, down a game. Fair enough. Now, back to Zamora's sideboard. The reason I bring that up is, Anna, you brought up, if he's current with deck list, then he knows what he's playing against, which is this black and control deck that Robbie Cordell made the top 8 with last weekend, and this deck, again, has had some success on Magic Online. As a result, he would bring in Skullcrack in this matchup to be able to one-up those Thragtusk, be able to one-up the Disciple Boluses.
Right.
If he doesn't know what he's against, he probably doesn't bring in Skullcrack.
He probably doesn't bring in anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Maybe he might bring in Domery,
Yeah.
thinking it's a control deck. Being like, hey, black can't kill planeswalkers. Come on, Domery Rod.
Yeah, that's the thought. I mean, we can certainly agree that Volcanic Strength is weak.
Yes, when they're
matchup.
killing all your creatures, putting auras on them is generally a poor idea.
Yeah. So those will probably get cut for something. The question is it going to be Domeries or is it going to be Skullcracks or some mixture of the two?
Right. On Tannon's sideboard, he has a extra Sever the Bloodline, he has an extra Mutilate, he has a Gaze of Granite. If he actually just wants yet more removal spells, that's available to him. He does have one thing. If you've been up on the black-green deck list, is they play 2 Cremates in the main deck. Really a nod to Junk Reanimator. I'm pretty sure those get sided out in nearly every matchup.
Yeah.
So, not too much sideboard from either player, I don't think. Probably gets slightly. It looks like Nathan has a couple more weapons to bring in. Tannon's main deck's already really good here.
Gaze of the Granite is interesting. It's a card that, it's not a card that I think is ever going to see a ton of play, but it's going to be a useful sideboard option. The reason I say that is, it's a card that's starting to pick up a little bit now because of its ability to be able to deal with hexproof creatures. Yeah, it's super expensive to be able to do so, but, desperate times call for desperate measures, and, sometimes against the Bant hexproof deck, a deck that we actually haven't talked about very much yet this weekend, this is a clean answer to those cards as long as you can cast it in time.
Right. I would say in a deck without Farseek, I'm not sure it happens in time, to be honest.
Sure.
I'm not sure. Turn 5 is when you do it. You gaze on 2. I don't know if that's enough. Maybe against like the Auras deck, you can Gaze of Granite on 1 and wipe out some Ethereal Armors, but.
Yeah, I mean,
you preferably would like to hit the creatures, not just the auras.
The draw has to line up in such a way that where you're Gaze of Graniting for 1 to wipe out those Ethereal Armors and maybe an Avacyn's Pilgrim or 2, or if people still have Abundant Growth in their deck list, even though those have been kind of wiped away because of better mana, where that's going to be a backbreaker. Those situations are probably few and far between. But I think that, in this matchup, I think that Gaze is, pretty reasonable here. I don't think it's going to be great or anything, but he does have 8 1-drops that are worth killing in Cackler and Noble, and then he has some 2-drops in Emissary and Foothoof Boar. So, I mean, he only has 1. I'm not, obviously I'm not advocating boarding in 4 of this card, because things can get very embarrassing very quickly then, but having it as a 1-of and an out to certain situations and cards, I don't think it's too bad.
No, I mean, it's one of the benefits about being a deck with a lot of removal spells is it makes your more situational removal spells better. When you have the option of killing a creature, so say you have a kill spell that's not traditionally as good. Something like, I guess the Gaze of Granite's a good example. An Ultimate Price, something that only kills maybe half of the creatures. Yeah. If you have a second, if you have an Ultimate Price, it's only okay. An Abrupt Decay is only okay. An Ultimate Price and an Abrupt Decay, however, becomes really powerful because then you have cheap answers that you'll always have an appropriate answer to what they're playing the first time, and then you get to have a better card later on for a separate situation. So what I like about Gaze of Granite in his deck is he already has so many kill spells that he can really leverage the Gaze to only cast it. He's not forced to cast it immediately. He can cast other kill spells and then cast the Gaze when it's actually backbreaking.
Yeah. So we're going to see Tannon is going to keep this 7 as Zamora is going to take a mulligan down to 6 here. At least 6, excuse me.
Right.
One thing about the red decks nowadays that I've noticed, Matthias, is that these are decks that, this version of the deck, it's not a deck that I feel mulligans very well.
No, it's a nut draw deck, really. It's almost in the Naya Blitz sense, its good hands are so good, and when they don't get there, the deck can really underperform. So it's like you get about 2 shots at having a really good draw, your opening hand and your mull to 6, and after that, things get pretty dicey.
Yeah. So we're going to see Zamora at least go down to 6 card here. Again, Nathan Zamora, player that I think that most of our viewers at home probably are familiar with, unless we do come to this area. The first time that he basically broke through, because I've been playing Magic way too long. The first Pro Tour in Honolulu, and I believe that was in 2005, the one that Mark Herperholtz won.
That was the one with Gruel.
With Easy Street.
That was the tournament where everyone was playing Ebony Owl Natsuki.
That's right.
Was the terrible deck that was surprisingly
good. You do know your
good.
Magic history. I'm proud of you. Well, Zamora was playing Magnivore that weekend, the blue-red Magnivore deck, which was, a deck that everyone hated to play against. It was a land destruction deck with Eye of Nowhere, Stone Rain, Demolish.
Eye of Nowhere to bounce their land.
That's right.
It was great.
It did have a nut draw of turn 2 Eye of Nowhere your land, Stone Rain your land, Demolish your land, Cast Tidings.
Magnivore.
Best of luck to
you. Or
you.
Wildfire you, Magnivore.
That's correct.
It was great.
As Zamora's going to take a mulligan down to 5, but this was kind of what he was known for. So he used to play this deck a lot online, and then he played it at the Pro Tour. I think he may have had a top 32 finish at that Pro Tour. I believe it was his first one, and that's when that kind of hit the scene, because a lot of people consider that deck to be kind of like a doofus deck. It's just like, oh yeah, I just play my land destruction spells, But people who are actually adept at playing the deck won a lot of matches that they should not have won, because every game you don't get to go, I have nowhere, Stone Rain, Demolish you.
Right. I mean, it was preying on some things, was that there were bounce lands that were being played in the format at the time, and you really could never afford to play a bounce land against that deck.
Yep.
Just I know oftentimes you just wouldn't play them.
Yeah.
Because,
it was a deck
that was his first PT, you'd said, right?
I believe that was his first Pro Tour. I mean, certainly his first relevant Pro Tour finish. And I know that, there was... I was at that Pro Tour, and there was some coverage on him. He may have had a feature match or two, but that's basically where he broke through. And he's played in some Pro Tour since then, and a couple of nationals and stuff like that. A solid Magic player who, hasn't played as much as he used to in the past. But if you follow Magic history, that would be his quote-unquote claim to fame.
He's coming up with a Magnivore deck.
And he's happy enough with his 5 cards here, as he's going to play a Rootbound Crag and pass the turn back.
He does have the turn 1 Cackler, but it looks like he doesn't have. Yeah, he's on 1 land, and it wasn't even a good land at that.
Yeah, so Strong Cryptobull is going to tragically slip, and Tannon's board control deck is moving in gear here. Here's a Liliana Veil. That's going up. As Tannon gives a thumbs up on that.
Good. So when your opponent can only play 1 creature per turn, Liliana becomes a really good card.
That's why we...
That's why we are in the booth, to say intelligent things like that.
That's why we brought you in the booth. Get him a raise.
I think it'll be really good at killing his play every turn.
And now here's a Geralf's Messenger. So now Tannon has a clock, and he has Liliana Veil looming. You guys see Liliana on the screen here as Tannon's going to play a Swamp.
Yeah. All right, not a game.
So I was wondering if we were actually going to get a game in this match.
Well, I was going to say, okay, if Tannon can draw a Burning Tree Emissary hand, like second land, cast a couple emissaries into something relevant, he has a shot.
Yeah.
But if he just doesn't hit the other land, then no, he doesn't have a shot.
Now, one thing that's important, as we really haven't, we haven't really got to play much of a match here, but one thing that is actually relevant is you see these players kind of looking, kind of having fun back and forth, is that the card that Zamora did discard was a Trader's Blood.
Yeah.
So that's actually important for Tannon to be like, okay, I can't just play Desecration Demon and have it stand tall.
Right, so Nathan kind of gave away some free information.
Yes.
In fact, I'm not even sure that's the right card to discard. I mean, you want to keep all your creatures, presumably, but when you're already on a 5-card hand on 1 land, it's like, I'm always thinking that situation, boy, I sure need to steal this game. Threatens are usually a pretty good way to steal games.
Yeah, I don't want to give away, it's very unlikely, he's got maybe I don't know, I'm not a math teacher.
He's 5% maybe to get this game, or something dumb.
Something incredibly low, and because the percentage chance of him winning that game is so low, you're probably going to be playing a 3rd game, so you don't want to give away any free information. And as minor as that may seem in the abstract, Tannon is a capable Magic player, as is Nathan, so maybe picking up on that small amount of information of, okay, my opponent has access to threaten effects is a, actual big deal.
What I would at least do is I would re-sideboard the same 15 cards at this point.
Sure.
So what I mean is, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it's usually good, especially once your opponents have seen sideboarded cards, to after game 2, going into game 3, to pick up your sideboard, shuffle it into your deck, and then pull out the exact same 15 cards again, just to make sure, then Tannon has to think, okay, did he actually keep in the Trader's Blood? The last thing you want to do is give your opponent free information, and if you actually don't pick up your sideboard or do anything with it, you're essentially telling your opponent, they're playing against the same 60 as they were last game.
Yeah. I mean, it seems kind of minor, and
It is minor.
Yeah, I mean, but it's important. Like, I've had this discussion with a lot of people. Like, do you ever sideboard in your 15? I mean, I will be open and honest. I just never do it. I'm just lazy.
I mean, okay, so if you're lazy, then like maybe don't do 15, do 2. Go to your sideboard and act like you've realized, oh, there's this other card I want. Pull 2 cards out of your sideboard, put them in your deck, then go through and pull out those same 2. That's easier. That's easier than remembering all 15. 'Cause maybe you're like me and sometimes you forget what your sideboard looks like. So like doing all 15 takes a while, but do it with 2. That's fine. Or 3. Change the number every once in a while.
I mean, in a perfect world, you should pull all 15. You should sideboard 15 in and sideboard 15 out every game, just so you're not giving away any information. That's just what should happen.
So technically, it's coming up. You don't have to sideboard all 15.
That's true.
Yeah, we'll probably touch on that. There are some new rule changes about sideboarding.
A minor touch.
Yeah.
See Zamora and Grace taking a look at their hands here. It looks like Zamora has a keeper.
He has 3 lands, which is 1 more than he actually wants.
He has Stromkirk Noble at the front of his hand.
I saw Stromkirk Noble and a Burning Emissary and 2 lands. I can't imagine he's shipping it.
No, I can't imagine that either. But Grace is going to ship it, so he's going down to 6.
He had the
takes a
lands.
look. He's rabbit holding. He's saying, "I would have gotten there." No.
So you're the kind of player, when you mulligan, do you look at the top cards?
Every time.
Okay, same.
It has no influence on my decision. I just
Right.
like to know. I need to know.
Yeah.
Because when I'm right, I feel great, and when I'm wrong, I'm just like, whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I still feel good about your decision.
It's fun. I mean, you can't look. Some people are like, "Oh, you should never look," or "You should always look." It's just like as long as it doesn't influence your decision.
Yeah, I mean, if it tilts you to look, don't do it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
What I do is because I feel like every time looking at it slightly increases. I mean, I mulligan pretty much based on numbers and math as opposed to like feel. So for someone who mulligans based on feel, I would say look, because then you'll improve your feel. You know, if you do it based on math, like it doesn't really matter.
Typically, when I am mulliganing in a Magic tournament or something, or when I'm looking at my opening hand deciding to mulligan, because I'm someone who plays a lot more on feel.
Right.
Like I know what hands are like good hands in my deck.
Yeah, this hand feels keepable, or like I think this will get there. It's like if you, a lot of people will make statements like that deciding to mulligan, right? Like this probably is not good enough.
Yeah. Whereas
that'd be a feel player.
Yeah. Whereas like if I'm sitting there and like I'm looking at my hand for a very long time, consciously what I'm doing is I'm trying to give myself a reason to keep a bad hand, and it's like, oh well, I could just like draw like this series of cards, which is like highly unlikely. You know, like I know what a good opening hand in my deck looks like. So like, what am I actually thinking about? Like I'm trying to convince myself that like this hand is keepable when it likely is not.
Right, you're trying because you hate mulliganing and you're trying to find a reason to not do it.
Yeah,
right.
That's basically what's happening.
Well, everyone hates mulliganing.
Yeah, it's like I know this is a bad 7, but I could draw these 5 cards in a row, and then my opponent can't win. So let's give that a shot, and then I'm signing the slip as a loss.
Yeah. So what I essentially try to do in mulliganing is I will think like, okay, if I draw this, then I think I'm this % to win, and if I draw this, I think I'm this % to win. Therefore, I'm X % to win overall. And I generally think a mull to 6 is like about a 45 or a 40 to win. So I think if it's higher than that, I'll keep, and if it's lower than that, I won't.
It's all that mumbo math.
Yeah, I know. Just saying numbers all the time.
I don't know what any of those things mean. Here's a victim of night taking care of a flint-hoof boar. So Zamora's first 2 plays are in the graveyard. All right, so here's Domri, which we thought we were going to see after sideboard.
Yeah, agreed. And starting its card advantage. I don't know if Tannon actually has an answer to it right now. I was going to say he had a great mulligan to 6 because it was all kill spells and a Liliana. But you know, Nathan does have the answer to that.
Yeah. And so there's Golgari Guildgate, and Tannon's
another
going to pass the
Domri.
turn. Domri's going to tick up again. It's going to miss this time. So now Zamora's going to come out with the Cackler. He's going to unleash it, and here's a Stromkirk Noble, but no 4th land. So maybe the 4th land is on the top, which is why Domri did not go up. Because you do see at least one Hell Rider.
Right. I mean, assuming he's sided out pillars, which I would imagine he has.
Yeah.
It's either another Domri or a land.
So Victim of Night's going to take care of Rakdos Cackler, and here's Lilianaville. That's going to take care of the Stromkirk Noble. So you see Tannon as he's going to play another Golgari Guildgate. As he's playing this board control game, as Domri's going to move up to 6. There's a Flint Hoof Boar. Here comes Hell Rider. Trigger's going to take care of that. 3 coming upstairs. Going to move Grace down to 15.
Grace has to be pretty worried about an emblem coming on.
Yeah, that's a very real problem. That's what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
Is because, you know, as much board control that Tannon's deck can play, Domri is the one thing that, like, you can't just kill that with a thing. You know, he has to draw one of his 2 Abrupt Decays, to be able to deal with that.
I think he did.
And I think you're right.
Yeah, it looks like
It's either that or a
gold.
Golgari Charm.
Well, one's a lot. Oh, it's Putrefy.
Okay, so that's
So
not going
no.
to do it. And if Domri's Emblem goes off, that's it.
Right. Tannon doesn't really recover from it.
Yeah, that's it. You know, we don't get to see Domri's
So what he
Emblem
has to
happen
do
a
is
lot.
he has to go Garruk, make a wolf here, which I think he's going to do, which is awful, but that gives him a chance of attacking Domri.
Yep.
And then he makes the play, right? Because you need a creature. You need to make a creature this turn if you want to stop the emblem.
Yep. And so this is going to reveal a strong Kirk Noble.
That's the third card Domri has drawn.
Yeah, when Domri is going,
He's good.
it's really, really good. Yeah, when this is revealing cards and ticking up and you can't fight it, I mean, it's borderline unbeatable. Here's a second Hell Rider. You're going to see some triggers here. And now Tannon Grace is super on the back foot.
Yeah, that's a swing of 10 if Tannon doesn't block it, and he can't afford to block it. You know, he's got it. This wolf has to be alive and has to hit Domri, which is pretty miserable, but is a thing.
Yeah, and Zamora knows that, and he's just getting in as much damage as he possibly
What
can.
I do like, I'm wondering whether or not Zamora was supposed to just leave a guy back as a blocker. I feel like this has given. I mean, I guess Garruk could fight it. If he could just play two creatures and have a blocker back, I almost prefer that line, just because now Tannon could knock Domri to 5, mutilate to make a wolf.
Sure.
Or I mean, obviously that's not good, but
Actually, the problem with the Mutilate play too, actually, is he only has two swamps.
They aren't all swamps.
Yeah, they're Golgari Guildgate.
Ooh,
So Putrefy's going to take care of one Hell Rider. Your opponent takes care of the other one. Zamora draws a mountain, and his Domri's on 5.
now, yeah.
Now Zamora's going to play Flinthoof Boar. He's going to give it haste and
Skullcrack.
So that's it.
All right, and there was and the Mutilate was there. We said Mutilate and Thragtusk and another Mutilate.
Yeah. So all cards that he was not. I mean, he had in theory the cards, but the Golgari Guildgates messed everything up. And so Nathan Zamora is going to win this match 2-1. Red-Green Aggro defeat Black-Green Control.
Right.
In what I think is probably a good matchup for the Black-Green Control deck, but Domri is like the ultimate trump against Tannon's deck.
Looking at Zamora, kind of a master of some aggressive strategies. You touched on it with Magnivore. Looking at it, he's a pretty dedicated, before that, Vampires player in previous standards. Looking at some of the previous decks he's sleeved up. No stranger to aggro decks. And I would say at 3-0, hoping to move into the later rounds of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Steve Kaufman